I actually liked all of the audio from the one where my chin was the worst. Why do I have to be an ugly bitch?
You're not an ugly bitch.
Good.
You're beautiful.
So today we're making a vegan Sunday roast, and it's not a 5-step Sunday roast or a 30-minute simple roast or any type of simple roast. It's going to take time, and it's worth every second of that time. So, fuck you.
It's a comforting.
Watch it. I'm sick of this shit. Don't know how to do it. Just want to make my Sunday roast and share it with you. Okay? So for your nut loaf, you're going to want 1.5 cups of mixed nuts, a cup of chestnuts, a carrot and parsnip, a white onion, oil, garlic cloves, chestnut mushrooms, breadcrumbs, vegetable stock, and then thyme and sage to flavour. For your roast jackfruit, you're going to want 400 grams of jackfruit, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a half teaspoon of salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of dried sage, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half teaspoon of thyme. For your mac and cheese, you want 1 pound of elbow pasta, a half cup of vegan butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 cups of oat cream, 4 cups of vegan cheese, and a half cup of nutritional yeast. For your gravy, you're going to want 2 tablespoons of oil, your roast onion and garlic cloves, 1.5 tablespoon of tomato puree, 200 millilitres of red wine, 500 millilitres of veg stock, 2 teaspoons of flour and seasonings. For roast veg, you'll want 6 small potatoes, carrots, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, 50 millilitres of oil, and then garlic, rosemary and thyme to flavour. For your colcannon, you just need 1 kg of rooster potatoes, scallions, veganese, salt and pepper. First things first, you want to make sure you've preheated your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. You also want to put 1 carrot and parsnip on the boil for your nut roast, and then we'll get to start on the nuts. You want to score all of the chestnuts and place them in your preheated oven for 10 minutes. Get your mixed nuts ready because they're going to go into the oven to join them now in a second. You can leave those in now for an additional 5 minutes. Once you've removed all of the chestnuts from their coverings or whatever, you want to chop everything up nice and fine. It's okay to leave a few chunks, whatever texture you prefer. If you don't mind a bite, go for it. Chop and dice 1 white onion. The goal here is to get some oil frying up in a pan, so you can toss this all in and let it go on a medium heat until it's translucent. And then get to work on your garlic to join. You can let that simmer away. So I'm just crushing and chopping up my garlic as fine as I can get it. I'm using 2 cloves here. You can use as much garlic or as little garlic as you like for the nut roast. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to toss that in on top of the onion that's already frying. And then I'm going to start grating in 1 carrot and breaking up mushrooms in on top of the mixture. And then I'm going to take the boiled carrot and parsnip we talked about earlier and pop that in on top. Then I'm going to add all of the chopped nuts that we roasted, combine everything, pour in our breadcrumbs, mix it all around. And now I'm pouring in the vegetable stock bit by bit, letting that all combine. This is all on medium heat still. And now I'm going to flavour with paprika. You don't need to use this seasoning, you can use whatever seasonings you like. I just like paprika on everything. This is our thyme and sage going in on top. This is some pepper. We have some onion and garlic salt here. And now we're just going to mix that all in together. We're going to get ready to fold this into a greased paper lined tin now. And once that's all folded in, you just want to press down to make sure any air holes or whatever are gotten rid of. I don't know what the correct term is. And now we're going to move on to jackfruit. So we want our jackfruit to marinate for a while. I'm just removing mine from the tin and washing whatever brine and oil was already on it because we don't want the contradictory flavours. And these are our seasons. We have salt, onion, garlic powder and pepper. There's some sage and rosemary there as well. I'm going to pour that in on top. garlic and onion powder. Oh, that's the garlic powder. This is some salt. This is the pepper. This is the onion powder. And then we're just gonna let that sit in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes. Keep an eye on it. And we're gonna peel our potatoes and get ready for the roast. I'm just peeling all of the skins off. You can wash yours and leave them on if you like. And I'm gonna parboil them because I'm gonna use some for the colcannon. And I'm just preparing the carrots for the roast. I chop all the skin off. You can leave yours on. I know that's where all the nutrition lives. I already know. I know. And I'm just slicing the carrots and parsnips lengthways because I'm going to drizzle these together with some honey and oil. Pop them all in together, and a generous amount of oil. Actually I use maple syrup, but you can use honey if you like. And I sprinkle with salt as well. And once they've got a nice drizzle on them, you're just going to pop them in the oven as well and keep an eye on them. Keep taking them out and turning them. In fact, on top of these, you can place your onion and 2 cloves of garlic that you'll use later for your gravy and just forget about them. Peel them, toss them in on top of your roasting carrots and parsnips, and then just forget about them for a little while. You can see here, I'm just taking the skin off the garlic cloves and I'll pop them in on top. And come back to those later when we're making gravy. I'm popping our roasties in here on top of the other potatoes that we're gonna make mash out of. And now I'm taking these out once they've boiled, parboiled, and I'm drizzling them with oil. I'll sprinkle a bit of salt on top as well. And these are going to be our roasties. We can leave these in the oven now for a good half hour. Keep taking them out and turning them. And now we're getting ready for our colcannon with the other potatoes that have boiled. We'll bring them to a full boil though, whereas we took the parboiled out for the roasts. I'm just chopping up some scallions here. I'll mash up what's left of the potato. Add a generous amount of veganaise. Mash. And then pop in the scallions. I can leave this to sit aside now, and later when I'm about to serve, I'll pop it back under a grill with a dollop of butter to heat it back up. Okay, and now onto the Brussels sprouts. We're just gonna pop off the bottom layer with the knife and take off the outer layer of skin. Pop them all in a tray and drizzle with oil and salt. Again, you could just toss these in the oven alongside everything else and move on to the next step. And now we're going to move on to the gravy. So I'm taking out my roasted onion and garlic cloves from earlier, and I'll pop this veg back into the oven. And now I'm just going to chop those up, heat up some oil in a pan, pop those in, and they're on a high heat. This is to start the gravy. We're going to pop our tomato puree in now, and alongside that we'll add some Marmite. And then we'll just let all of those flavours combine on high heat for a couple of seconds. Mixing around, stirring it in. Now we want to add our red wine. And this part's really important. You want to keep it on a medium to high heat and start scraping all the flavours off the bottom until it combines with the wine, and then add your veg stock in on top. Keep it on a good simmer. A whisk is probably best to use to scrape all the flavour off the bottom, the Marmite and everything else. And then you're going to add teaspoon by teaspoon, add flour and whisk until you get the consistency of gravy that you prefer. I like a very thick gravy, and this is a very flavourful gravy, so you don't need much of it. And now I'm just getting our mac prepared. So I'm boiling some pasta in salted water on a high heat, and I'll get our cheese sauce ready. So I'm starting with a roux. I just start by popping the butter into the pan, letting it melt in and adding flour and combining until it thickens. And then we don't want to let that flour burn, so just before it does we want to add in the cream. This is the oat cream. Stir around, watch as it thickens with the flour, and then add in your cheese, bit by bit. Let it melt down. Oh my god, my mouth is literally salivating watching this back. You can add whatever vegan cheese you like. I've used a combination of cheddar and mozzarella. And then you can change the consistency by adding cream. The more cream you add, the waterier it'll be. If you make it too watery, you can add nutritional yeast to bring it back to a thicker consistency. I just like the flavour, so I've used it here. And I'm using paprika as well. Some black pepper, and stirring that in. Once your pasta is ready, you just drain it, transfer it back into the pot, and pop the cheese sauce in on top.
That's what good pussy sounds like.
So, one of the most daunting things about preparing a Sunday lunch like this is the amount of separate dishes you have to worry about at the same time. They all demand a different heat and for a different length of time or whatever. But my trick is just setting everything in this video to the time of your nut roast, which needs a half hour at 200 degrees Celsius with tinfoil and then a half hour without tinfoil. Everything else is a game of rotation. Rotating things in the heat, taking them out of the heat if they're getting too cooked, putting them back in when it's coming close to being served again and needing to reheat them. You can make this as simple as you like. You just really, for like the hour, need to keep your eye on everything that you're doing so nothing burns. I need to make space in this plate. Oh my god, that's a fucking meal.
You proud?
So hungry is more the word, like. Okay. Is it? So I have 10 to drive up. Just changing gears. There's that bitch I used to get skill at. She got so fat.
Go back.
Hi, Midel Brady.
Go a tiny bit back from it.